You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real as Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered daily digital show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You can make this possible. Today, Senator Kamala Harris was on The View, and Meghan McCain threw out her defund the police question without even knowing what the hell it even means. Watch this.
Activists right now are calling for a defunding of the police. The Minneapolis City Council just agreed on a bill on this. Right before I came to tape the show, there was a clip on CNN from a Minneapolis City Councilwoman who said, quote, "It's a place of privilege if someone breaking into your home wants to call the police." This is gaining a lot of steam. Nancy Pelosi this morning just refused to answer if she would support defunding the police. I just want to know from you, do you support defunding and removing police from American communities? And if not, why do you think there's such a hard time being differentiated right now between defunding and reforming police departments?
So, Megan, I think that a big part of this conversation really is about reimagining how we do public safety in America, which I support, which is this. We have confused the idea that to achieve safety, you put more cops on the street, instead of understanding to achieve safe and healthy communities, you put more resources into the public education system of those communities, into affordable housing, into home ownership, into access to capital for small businesses, access to health care regardless of how much money people have. That's how you achieve safe and healthy communities. And so we really do need to understand and reimagine what and how we can actually make and help make communities safe. Because here's the bottom line. If you contrast, many communities which have a heavy presence of police to middle and upper middle class suburbs in America, you will not see that presence of police. But what you will see, you will see families who have an income that allows them to get through the end of the month. You will see good public schools. You will see people who have access to health care and can afford it. You will see people who have jobs. And so this has to be the conversation, which is how are we going to be smart in achieving what should be our collective goal, which is that all communities are safe, and knowing that safe communities are usually safe because they are healthy because of a number of things, including the economy, including education, including access to health care. And that's how I think about this. In many cities in America, over 1/3 of their city budget goes to police. So we have to have this conversation. What are we doing? What about the money going to social services? What about the money going to helping people with job training? What about helping with the mental health issues that communities are being plagued with, for which we're putting no resources? And here's the other thing. When I talk to law enforcement, they know that they don't want to be, nor are they skilled to be the ones who are responding to someone with mental illness or substance abuse or the homeless population. But in many cities, that's what's happening, because we are not directing those resources, those public resources, to where they need to go, which is addressing mental health, homelessness, substance abuse, so that we don't have to have a police response because we are smarter.
Senator, I hear you loud and clear, and I don't think there's any rational American right now who doesn't think that we need to take a cold, hard look at reforming our police. But there was a video that went viral over the weekend of the mayor of Minneapolis being yelled at, saying, yes or no question, are you for defunding the police? So I'm going to ask the same question the protesters asked him. Are you for defunding the police?
How are you defining defund the police?
Well, I'm not for anything remotely for that, so I would ask the protesters the same thing. But I assume and again, this is something that is new to me, I assume it's removing police, and as Congresswoman Ilhan Omar said, bringing in a whole new way of governing and law and order into a community. And my understanding, again, this is something that has just come into my understanding recently, is that you would not have police officers like this Minneapolis City Councilwoman said, that I would be a place of privilege if someone broke into my home and I wanted to call the police.
So, again, we need to reimagine how we are achieving.
Come on. Avis, Senator Harris like, well, I got to answer this little child. First of all, you're saying, I assume I'm just learning about this. Meghan has no clue what the hell she's talking about. Kamala Harris just sat there and explained to you what defund the police is, and you have no idea. Okay, so Avis, you were tweeting about this. So is the issue the hashtag? Is it too complex? Or is the problem folks don't actually want to read? What is it?
Well, here it is. I kind of alluded to this earlier. Democrats need to be a lot more savvy when it comes to messaging. You know, we have great ideas, and I don't think anyone with 2 grains of sense would disagree with anything that Senator Harris just said there. Even Meghan McCain seemed to agree with what she was saying. The challenge is that the actual phrase that's being used to describe that can lead people to misinterpret what's being demanded here. When I hear the word defund, the original thought that comes to mind is to zero out a budget, right? That's what most people will believe. So it requires a lot of explanation and a lot of education to get people to the point where they really understand the broader arguments around it. Here's the challenge with politics. When you're explaining, you're losing. Period.
But the deal though, but Brittany,
and it seems like to me, if your argument is that you want to redirect funding and you have to go into greater detail, that's fine. To me, a better argument or a better thing to focus in on would be to say demilitarize the police. And then I think more people can get that and understand that, now I can go and explain other things that I might want to do with funding.
I disagree. I disagree because here's the problem, Brittany. Even if you say demilitarize the police, then that means, hold up, the police, they're the military? Hold up, the military is the Army, Navy, Marines, and Air Force.
No, they're seeing they saw the tanks.
But that's not. But that's still a limited piece in terms of police reform. The real.
Yeah, but it sounds a whole. It makes more sense.
No, actually, it doesn't. Here's the problem. Here's the problem.
Defunding Planned Parenthood. When people were making the argument about defunding Planned Parenthood, they weren't saying take the money from Planned Parenthood and put it into all these other places, but still make sure that Planned Parenthood exists. That wasn't
right.
the argument.
Wait. But Avis, that's because
they were talking about bringing it to zero.
And that's because, that's because the people who were saying that got to define it. The problem here is
how else do you define?
No. Follow me here. The people who are in opposition to something. What you have here is
politics.
I understand. I understand politics as well. But my point is this here. You can explain defund the police means this. That's why Senator Kamala Harris, Brittany, said, how do you define it, Meghan? She explained it, but then Meghan didn't want to hear the definition because Meghan had in her own mind what it is. The point, Brittany, I believe, is that if you are for defunding the police, you must be in front of the narrative and not allow someone else to define what your meaning is. Brittany.
Roland, I absolutely agree. I've actually seen 2 different factions in terms of how we discuss defunding the police. I have seen people who believe that defunding the police means that we will still have police in the way that we think about it today. They will literally just have less funding. We will divest from policing, and we will invest in communities of color, as Kamala Harris just stated. But I've also seen people pushing for something different, which is to get rid of policing as we know it. And I think that they've used such examples as what's going on in Minneapolis. You know, we think about the University of Minneapolis contracts with, they cancel their contracts with police. We see them being pulled out of, the local school systems there. We hear council members talking about completely revisioning what we know and understand policing to be in its current state. And just real quickly, I want to go back to what Senator Booker said, which I thought was really interesting. He said 4 months ago, I didn't even think this bill would have been possible. And what I thought was so powerful is, well, why is it possible now? And that's because the power of the people said it was possible. At one point in the United States, we didn't think we could go without slavery. We didn't think we would have a world that had, we could go without legal segregation. And yet here we are. And I think we're at a really key moment. And I just hope that we are continuing to radically think about a new world. I just hope we continue to think about a radically different new world. But I bring up excellent point in terms of the naming.
Maj, I think the key here is this here. I think the key is when people were asking the question to the mayor of Minneapolis, will you agree to defund the police? I think you've got to actually state what that is and not just sit on a phrase. That's all I'm saying here. I know Republicans are excellent with bumper sticker slogans that don't require explanation because a lot of their people who follow them are not smart. But go ahead.
Here's the thing about that, though. When we're dealing with our people that are still victims of that same horrible education system, you have to you gotta lead with empathy. And I can't be a little frustrated that I have a certain level of understanding because of the books that we read. Of course, you don't know. We haven't studied the same things. So I think everybody in the panel, to your point, Roland, which is like, come on, bro. You can't be talking about something that can't even pretty much explain. At the same time, when you're to First Sister's point, you have to be able to explain this in a manner. You got to applesauce it. Babies don't have teeth. You have to be able to give it to them in applesauce chunks. If these are the people that you're trying to explain, because like Brittany said, there's different packaging. It's no different than the riots. There are people that are there that are actively trying to peaceably protest, that see something that's wrong. They're trying to solve the problem with civil disobedience or unrest, whatever you want to call it. Then there's instigators, and then there's the guys that just want LeBron James sneakers, that just want to wait later. But the general public, when it's shown on television, they may have, unless it's explained and broken down, right? They may have that one view of a thing one way, and it can be incomplete. When a lot of these issues, I think we try to make them very simple, but again, it's a holistic process. In certain areas, we do need more reform. There's certain arears where they have not handled people the same way. There's other areas where 70% of that needs to get trashed. You can look at Ahmaud Arbery's situation. That whole that whole situation is horrible. But you may not have the same scenario there. I think that's an example of how we can explain that to people at different levels. And I think how Senator Harris asked her, well, what is your definition of defunding? So I can see where I'm actually meeting you at. Even though I did just explain this to you very thoroughly, I can kind of meet you somewhere in the middle. I'm
only making this point, and it's very simple. The people who are advocating for defund the police must control the narrative. What they can't do is allow the opposition to now define their own phrase and define their narrative. And that's why for those protesters, for the people who are organized behind this, there has to be a marketing campaign, a PR campaign that is clear, that is consistent. The phrase alone doesn't do it. That's the point I'm making. So when Meghan asked the question, she didn't know jack about it. And so she was just asking the question solely based on the phrase. And what I'm saying is it requires an education process. Hopefully those behind it will do that and make this happen. Hopefully.
I agree. Just real quick. That's where Kaepernick failed. He did a perfect explanation of why he was taking a knee, of who he conferred with, a military man. That man told him it wouldn't be disrespectful because he was bringing attention to a thing. Right. At first interview, he explained it thoroughly. There's no way to mess it up. Then he disappeared. Then media hijacked the message. And so in that sense, absolutely. Well,
but also, his deal was he explained it, and he's not. Look, Colin's a very shy guy as well. That goes to it, and so it's all a part of that. I'm just saying, for the people out there who believe in the defunding the police and the concept, what I'm saying is control the narrative. Do not let the negative folks start telling you what it actually means, because that's where it's going to be a problem. And I can see it happening, but it hasn't taken foot yet. But we'll see what goes down. All right, folks, back to our Roland Mark Unfiltered video in just one moment. Thank the folks with Ceek.com, Ceek.com, for partnering with us. This is Mary Spio is the creator, the innovator, the founder of this company. She, of course, designed these 4D 360-degree headphones that are absolutely amazing. We've got a partnership with them, folks. If you purchase these headphones, you can use the promo code RMVIP2020, RMVIP2020. Simply go to Ceek.com. That's Ceek.com. Be sure to check it out. We thank them for partnering with us.